Sean Neilson, aged 26 from Glasgow, is an inspiration to everyone who meets him. Sean is a keen volunteer and has a passion to help others in a society who are less fortunate than himself. Sean's first taste of volunteering came as a carer for his younger brother Ryan. Following Ryan's untimely death in 2000, Sean has been dedicated himself to helping others both in Scotland and abroad. Sean is a remarkable young man and a shining example of a young person whose attitude and motivation goes against the perceived stereotypes of young people in Scotland today. His selflessness and humility are inspiring to many.
Sean Neilson for me is what the Unsung Hero category is all about. For me, Sean is an amazing young person and a really inspiring volunteer to work along with. I first met Sean a long time ago when he was volunteering with the Glasgow Young Scot card and developing the new service within Glasgow. From then, Sean's went on to volunteer within local radio, where he presents local radio stations, local radio shows, and he's actually been Mr. Exclusive for a long time in terms of bringing. He's the first one to interview the X Factor evictees when they're kicked off the show. Sean's always the one there interviewing them for the local radio station, which is fantastic, and he's been able to bring that to help him engage with young people. Sean was also involved through his university in doing volunteering abroad in Thailand, and that was very much inspired by a tragedy in his life when his young brother had died. Sean had been a young carer for his brother, and that kind of gave him a lot of inspiration to go on and do volunteering, and that's kind of it's kind of gave him that kind of ethos now, the fact that he wants to help. It's always his first point. He always wants to kind of give his time, and he's an amazing person for that.
What inspires me to volunteer is probably one of the most important people to have ever entered my life, my younger brother Ryan. Ryan was my life, my love, my passion for helping. He was my inspiration and will continue to be that every day. I was a young carer for 12 years of my life, and he touched my life every single day. He gave me the opportunity to believe in myself, to believe that I have the ability to inspire others, to believe that I can make a difference, just the way that he made a difference in mine just by being him. And I think that's where my inspiration comes from, is from my younger brother.
Volunteering for Sean has been an absolute benefit in terms of he was a young person who was very much isolated. He was caring for his young brother at such a young age, and in a time where Sean should have really been developing his own personal and social skills, and that isolation made him he never had a lot of confidence in himself. Now to see Sean where he is now, because he's went out and got all these other experiences like going abroad and volunteering and being involved in the local radio stations and the different various projects, etc. You see a totally different Sean, one who's very confident. I mean, he's went from being very quiet, not wanting to be involved, to standing on a stage in front of hundreds of people and presenting at large-scale events, which is fantastic. The benefits for other young people with Sean is Sean has been there, and he has that whole thing about being able to share his experiences with young people who's in that situation. He has that understanding of where that young person has come from, and other people like myself can talk about, and we can sympathise with people, but with Sean, because he's been from that experience, he has the empathy and can actually help a young person on a journey.
In travelling over 8,000 miles to Chiang Mai in Thailand, I decided to help children just like Ryan. These children suffered from varying conditions such as ADHD, autism, Asperger's, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, and most of these children are ostracised within Thai society because they see children with special needs as being a burden from their previous life, which is a social stigma that's attached to young people or people with disabilities in Thailand. So if I could make any small difference while I was there to try and change that perspective now, and I don't think I'm going to change the world, But if I can make small differences to make people think differently about something that I think I'm passionate about that should be done, then I'm hopefully making a difference in other people's lives. Volunteering is massively important. Volunteering is what makes you feel alive. If you want to feel like you are a citizen in this world, like you matter, and like you are important, then volunteering makes you feel that. And if you give yourself up to other people, you have the opportunity to feel alive. You have the opportunity to know that such a small difference in somebody's life that you see as small is actually major in their life. And so giving yourself up to other people, for me, has always been a lifelong dream, and that's came from being a young carer. But if young people in Scotland give themselves up to other people in order to help, then the world will be a better place.
For me, he's had major achievements throughout his whole life. One of the biggest was the relationship he had with his brother, being able to make his life better for the short time that it was. Other achievements for me is being able for Sean participating in the programme where he went to Thailand and he worked with children who were highly vulnerable and living chaotic lifestyles. Also, another one for me is Sean was recently part of a BBC documentary which was filmed, which was shown on BBC about his volunteering in Thailand. And to me, that's a major achievement for a young person from Glasgow to go away, to come from the background that Sean came from, go away to a country overseas, and to come back and get that recognition and for other people to see it.
I think the negative stereotype that's attached to young people has always been attached to young people, and it's not fair. It's not fair that young people are seen in that light. I'm a young person. I don't want to be seen in that light. I have done everything I possibly can do to make sure that I make a difference, to make sure that I'm a citizen of the world, to make sure that I make my parents proud, if not my family proud, and if not my community proud. And I think that for me has always been my drive. I think the negative stereotype attached to young people isn't fair and shouldn't be there.